أما بعد باب الترهيب من المساوئ ومن مساوئ الأخلاق. الترهيب is threatening, الترهيب admonishing from the ill of the character. This hadith today, number 19 from the book, from the chapter, but from the whole book is number 1399. يقول المصنف رحمه الله تعالى: وعن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا تماري أخاك ولا تمازحه ولا تعده موعدا فتخلفه. لا تماري أخاك. Do not dispute your brother or dispute with your brother. ولا تمازحه, and do not make jokes. ولا تعده موعدا فتخلفه, and do not promise him a promise, or heaven, promise to meet them, or any type of promise that you might not be able to honor and to fulfill. So this hadith is very important in maintaining the basis of brotherhood and maintaining also the iman, because one of the characteristic of nifaq, of hypocrisy, is to someone to promise and to break the promises, and that's one of the characteristics that it might grow in a person, and such a thing, when it grows in the heart of the person, they make it to be hardened. So al-mira'u qala, the first aspect, the first nasiha of the Prophet ﷺ, and nasiha and the prohibition here, when we said this is the command of the Prophet ﷺ to not do this action. قال لا تماري, لا تماري, do not dispute. وهي المجادلة, arguing, لا تمازحه, to make jokes. ولا تعده, as we said, do not promise them, and then promise that you are not able to fulfill. The first thing is al-mira. Al-mira is disputing, arguing, and not any arguing is negative. However, the mira itself is negative. Has a negative connotation as a mira. One time in Al-Tabarani, that a group of the companion, they were kind of disputing, talking, disputing, and kind of arguing. And the Prophet ﷺ came out. And he said, and وَنَحْنُ نَتَمَارَ, while we are disputing and arguing, فِي شَيْءٍ مِّنْ أَمْرِ الدِّينِ, in a matter of the deen. فَغَضِبَ غَضَبًا شَدِيدًا. The Prophet ﷺ, they know when the Prophet ﷺ is angry. They can see it in his face. فَغَضِبَ غَضَبًا شَدِيدًا. The Prophet was very angry. قَالَ لَمْ يَغْضَبْ مِثْلَهُ. We didn't see him in that state before. ثُمَّ انتهرنا, he's like he talked in a way to, let's say, like stop. Intahara, which is mean like to call people to stop with the way of prohibition, with the way of kind of an order to do, and with the showing the displeasure in that command. That what you're doing is very wrong. And look what the Prophet ﷺ said. قال, and this hadith in al-Bukhari wa Muslim, قال أبهذا يا أمة محمد أمرت, is with this, that O Ummah of Muhammad, you've been commanded. إنما هلك من قبلكم بمثل هذا. People before you, they went wrong, they went astray, they get corrupted with things like this, disputing. مثل هذا ذروا المراء لقلة خيره. Desert it, turn away from disputing, from arguing, because it does not bring you good. ذروا المراء فإن المؤمن لا يماري. Turn away from the mira, because this mira, this disputing, this argumentative way of, with the stubbornness, that's what the mira. لا يماري فإن المؤمن, the true believer, does not do such a thing. ذروا المراء فإن المماري قد تمت خسارته. The person who disputes in this way and arguing, he completed his at a loss. والعياذ بالله. كفى إثما ألا تزال ممارية, is enough as a sin to persist on such an action or should just continue to dispute, this is not haram, this is haram, why you should do this, and subhanAllah disputing with no knowledge, and disputing for the sake of dispute, not dispute or argue for the sake of understanding or knowing if the person what he's saying is the truth so they can adhere to it, because a person tell you what you have been doing, for example in the salat is wrong. He said, why is wrong, can you just explain, help me, So someone, yes, in the hadith is this or things like this. So to explain, to help, to correct. But the dispute people, they try to criticize, to dispute and argue for the sake of argument, for the sake of boasting, for the sake of putting obstacle because they don't like this person. And subhanAllah, it's only the shaitan who's the one who's managing and, kind of, guiding this whole mumarat. قال ذروا المراء فأنا زعيم بثلاثة أبيات في الجنة ورياضها. ذروا المراء, turn away from the mirah, because I am the one za'imun, which is like the leader, the one who's taking care of 3 categories in the Jannah, 3 homes in the Jannah. قال ورياضها, and its gardens, the lowest, the middle, and the highest. لمن ترك المراء وهو صادق, the one who deserts and turn away from the mirah and he's truthful. So imagine, the Prophet ﷺ is guaranteeing for the believer who turn away from the mirah to be one of those who guarantee for him one of these places in paradise. ذروا المراء فإنه أول ما نهاني عنه ربي بعد عبادة الأوثان. Leave and turn away from the mirah. It is in fact the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited me to do after prohibited me the worship of the idols other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these, as you see, قال وأخرج الشيخان مرفوعا. So as you see this hadith in Al-Mu'jam Al-Kabir, the next hadith actually in Al-Bukhari or Muslim. So you see the importance of this hadith, subhanallah, how many times the Prophet ﷺ قال ذروا المراء, ذروا المراء, ذروا المراء, and all of that to emphasize on the fact, on the ill effect of the mirah, on the ill. It goes, subhanAllah, it leads people astray, it corrupts people, it builds, enmity between them, it divides, and it does not have any good in it. When people disputing, and arguing about a matter, that does not even help them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, to help, asking a question is the path of knowledge. One of the things that someone as a student of knowledge need to learn is how to ask a question. Jibreel alayhi salam, when he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking about the Iman, Islam and Iman, he said, do you know who the one who came? They said, no, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Jibreel came to teach you your deen, teach you your deen. So the question was the teaching. When you ask a good question. The mirah is to ask a question to show off, to try to make sure that the one who's speaking or the person who's talking is incapable, he does not have enough knowledge. It's like to put obstacle into their path and to try to show, to ridicule them, and all of that is haram. The mirah is also the fact when a person, talking about something that does not have importance. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the number of the people of the cave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they said 3, and people they say 3, the 4th is the dog, 5, the 6th is the dog, 7, the 8th is the dog. He said only few people they know. فَلَا تُمَارِ فِيهِمْ, do not even dispute and argue about it. Because the question, the heart, the core, the lesson of the people of the cave story, it's not in their number. It's not in their number. It's like, when someone, for example, when Musa alayhi salam was striking, hitting with his staff the sea and departed in two, someone asked you, do you know what was the shoe size of Musa alayhi salam? That's a mirah. That's nothing have to do with the whole story. It's exactly the number of the people of the cave. It's either 3 or 7. The most important, Allah is capable to bring them back to life after sleeping for 309 years. That's the heart of the story. You know, they were believer and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helping them. So 3 or 4 or 5, it might be the whole ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah have the ability to do it for you. You see. فقال إن أبغض الرجال إلى الله الألد الخصم. The most, subhanallah, let's say, hated person in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most that the people that the most or the worst of the people. Al-Alad al-Khasm. Al-Alad is the stabber. Al-Alad is the one who dispute and fight in disputing and arguing and showing like subhanallah. It's like you don't have even, you don't find any way just to have him listen at least to explain to him, you know. So this are the worst, أبغض الرجال. I mean the people that the most hated among the people are those al-alad al-khasm, ay shadid al-khusum. He's always disputing, arguing, and he thinks that he's always right. And that's actually an aspect of arrogance, والعياذ بالله. Okay. يقول وحقيقة المراء طعنك في كلام غيرك لإظهار خلل فيه لغير غرض سوى تحقير قائله وإظهار مزيتك عليه. So this is, he given us beautiful definition of what is this arguing or the that is haram. He said, al-mira'u, it's like to criticize, to, you know, question the saying of the person that you're talking to, just to show that in his saying there is a defect, there is a mistake, not for the sake to correct them, but just to belittle them, just to mock them, just to show them they are smaller, and to show how you know a greatness over these people and your preference over them. That's the mirah. Whoever who does such a thing, he's committing a major sin. And there's many people like that. والجدال هو ما يتعلق بإظهار المذاهب وتقريرها. When it comes to the jidal, al-jidal is like good part of it is to argue with evidence, argue to show which one of the ruling is the closest to the sunnah and etc. والخصومة لجاج في الكلام ليستوفي به مالا أو غيره. الخصومة is dispute and fighting, and lijajun, someone continue to talk, continue to criticize when it's about, for example, when it comes to money, it comes to loan, and so on. ويكون تارة ابتداء وتارة اعتراضا والمراد لا يكون إلا اعتراضا والكل قبيح. Someone, for example, say, you know, when you know you're gonna give back the loan, or someone sold something and the person come to criticize about the item that they get. If you don't like it, you ask in a nice way, I want to return it. But the fact to say, you betrayed me, this is not the thing that you should have done. So subhanAllah, make out of it a concern as the matter is like the person, he killed the person. That's also part of the khusuma, and that's not right. That's not right. Insisting, persisting on things that do not have meaning. I mean, if your brother, even if he had a mistake, you know, and he said, I'm sorry, you know, forgive me, brother, someone cannot continue to argue, dispute, and show, you know, want to have this person to feel bad. That's not from the characteristic or the akhlaq of the believer. قال وكل قبيح إن لم يكن لإظهار الحق وبيان. And all this argument, all this dispute, all of it is qabih, is ugly, is bad, as long as it's not done to show the truth. You know, when someone wants to show the truth, clarify the truth, he do it in the way of nasiha, not in the way of this mirah or argument, argument with anger, argument with fighting. That's not the way of the believer. If someone wants to show the truth, he will find the way of kindness, of balance, of moderation, to help the person be corrected. Because if a person making a mistake, if you want to help them to be corrected, you need to find the way how to get to their hearts in a very kind way. Because your perspective or your objective to help your brother. But when you see a person making a mistake, and admonish them, make them feel bad, that's an insult, is not a nasiha. And that's the nature of dispute and the mira that Prophet ﷺ is prohibited here. We have 2 minutes bi'idhnillah, and we continue with the part of the mira. قال وأما مناظرة أهل العلم للفائدة وإن لم تخلو عن الجدال فليست داخلة في النهي. Munadhara, the debate between people of knowledge, and sometimes it gets heated into their argument. This is not part of this prohibition of the Prophet ﷺ, because that's fertilizing the idea, showing evidence, helping people to do more research, to bring in more evidences that they have to show their opinion and they show the point. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن, and argue with them with the goodness, with the good manner. وقال تعالى ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب, do not argue with the people of the book except with the good way, the good kindness, the evidence, the good nasiha, and so on. وقد أجمع عليه المسلمون سلفا وخلفا, and this is what we have said in the consensus of all the Muslim, from the righteous predecessor and from the late generation. The next part is small, inshallah we'll do it next time, which is al-mumazaha. Al-mumazaha, making jokes when it leads to hurt your brother or the sister is haram, because some of the jokes is really cause a deep hurting to people, and some of the people they don't handle such jokes. That's not right. And we going to study that inshallah, as the Prophet ﷺ has prohibited, and to see what type of mizah that will be allowed. نكتفي بهذا القدر إن شاء الله وجزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم.